Welcome, friends. It's almost midnight, and you've found your way to the PikeCast. Come along as we careen through the catalog of the most formative horror writer of our young adult days, Christopher Pike. From adult perspectives, we'll revisit these YA books our parents probably would never have let us read had they known what lie inside. We tackle one book per episode in a freewheeling and unbiased chat. So grab your battered paperback, pull the flashlight from the kitchen drawer, climb under your bed covers, and devour a good book with us. Greetings, fellow Pikers, and welcome to the PikeCast. I'm Cooper Beckett, and I'm thrilled to be joined by my lovely co-hosts.
Hello, I'm Cassie.
Hi, I'm Becca.
Today, we are digging into Christopher Pike's 1996 book, The Starlight Crystal, and we're going to be dissecting it in great detail, spoiling each and every plot twist, so consider yourself warned. If you're enjoying the PikeCast, please leave us a review on the podcast service of your choice. And let's welcome our guest Piker this week, author of numerous horror books, including The Worm and His Kings and short story collection Unfortunate Elements of My Anatomy, Hailey Piper. We are delighted to have you join us, Hailey.
Hi, I'm happy to be here.
So before we get into our book, we do like to introduce our guest with some horror questions. So Cassie, why don't you take it away there?
Yeah, please tell us, Hailey, what got you into horror?
Oh, Godzilla was probably the earliest thing. When I was like 3, watching like Godzilla versus Megalon and Godzilla or King Kong versus Godzilla. But I think what like springboarded me into like horror was my dad had got an unmarked VHS tape from a coworker that was supposed to be the movie Trolls, and he put it on without checking. You can see where this is going. And
so excited. I mean, it could be going so many places, really.
So I was 5. My sister was 4. And he went to take a shower. And the movie that started was H.P. Lovecraft's The Unnameable, which is rated R for blood and nudity and cursing and heads being chopped off and monster cam, like Sam Raimi style monster cam zooming through the house. And we only watched the first half hour. I don't know what he was doing, but he came back and like my sister and I did not sleep for a week, and it's just been this way ever since.
I love it that it was like an accidental exposure to horror that got you into it.
And that changed everything.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
I mean, I went backwards after that. I went into like the Universal horror movies, more Godzilla, Ray Harryhausen stuff. But like, yeah, definitely from that point, it was just like monsters all the time.
Do you have a horror book that you would mark as the nexus point for you?
Some people would probably categorize it as a thriller, but I don't like that. So I think I partly read Mr. Murder by Dean Koontz without my mom's permission, because I just kind of went, these things, like, it was a different time.
No, I'm right there with you. I also had to do these things without my mom's
I didn't think I
permission.
was doing anything bad. I mean, it was always, it was the early 90s where we were very encouraged to read books. So it's like, hey, a book, I will read it. There's like, the guy has a murderous clone that like is hunting his family. But I think the big one there was after that, like my mom just realized I was fine and just didn't hide them or anything. So I found, I think it was Watchers by Dean Koontz.
Oh,
and like that
Watchers,
that was the big one. Oh my God. I know, I don't know if I'd like it now, but I loved it when I was 9. I know that sounds weird.
Well, I'm going to say the controversial thing. I mean, I don't know that it's controversial, but Dean Koontz really sits well with a, middle school to junior high horror fan.
Yeah, definitely.
Because his prose isn't great. otherwise, but we didn't know better.
Right.
So, and it's filthy usually. If I recall Dean Koontz, I never remember which one, but I know I read a Dean Koontz novel my freshman year in high school that had these telekinetic twins that were also having an incestuous relationship.
Oh, that was not the filthy Dean Koontz book I thought you were going to mention.
No, which one? What?
I thought you were going to mention The Voice of the Night, which is
I don't know that one.
It's about this kid who's like if this sounds like a Christopher Pike book setup, but this kid who doesn't have friends, and he makes friends with this one kid who's kind of odd, and it turns out that kid might be a serial killer. And it's really it was not a book I should have read when I was 11. It was very disturbing for me. It was worse than I read Intensity, and that was fine. But this one was just like that was too much.
Intensity, the book that just was made as High Tension, and nobody talks about it. I don't know if you've seen the movie High Tension, but it is literally the book Intensity, and nobody talks about it.
Really interesting.
The plot is almost identical.
Huh.
And it's weird and it's upsetting, and it's like, how does this happen? How does this happen?
That's wild.
Anyway.
At the risk of losing the respect of people listening and both of y'all, I've never read a Dean Koontz book in my life.
No.
You're fine.
Oh, okay,
you're fine.
Becca.
Don't worry, Cassie. You're fine.
I was like, me and Becca are being awfully quiet. I hope I'm not alone in this.
No, I do. I have Intensity on my TBR for this month, though, but I haven't.
I have it on my literal shelf right now, that book. I'm not kidding. I've never read them. Like,
I mean, maybe we should do it.
Look at it this
maybe
way.
we should. Yeah, maybe we should make a pact.
I've never read a Christopher Pike book until now. So there's
Yeah.
that.
That's fair.
Okay. Let me put it this way. Let's say they took Christopher Pike books and then pretended they were for adults. That is Dean Koontz.
Yeah, that's
I feel
fair.
like I'm going to like it then when I read it.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. But it's definitely you look at Stephen King, and then Dean Koontz is like a step down, like a distinct step down.
I thought he was like a romance writer when I was a kid because
no.
One of my grandma figures had a bunch of bookshelves with she wasn't like my blood grandma, but I called her like Mimi anyways because she was like my grandma. And she had shelves of like Danielle Steele and Dean Koontz. And so I thought I looked at one of the Danielle Steele ones because that was like a girl name. So I was like, oh, cool. Like a lady's writing a book. I'm going to read that even as a child, which props to me. And then I was like, these are not what I want to read. I don't think I like this. And it was because it was just like, romancy stuff and then heartbreak. And I was like, nah. And so I just assumed all the rest were like that. And I never looked at them again until I was older and I figured it out.
Cassie, that is hilarious. When you
tell stories, you tell us the whole background.
I know. I always break into these stories and then there's like this long pause and I'm like, God damn it, I did it again.
No, it makes me really happy. I'm really glad that I got to learn about your Mimi.
Good.
Like, thank you.
No,
well, let's
Cassie,
move
that's
into
exactly how my
book
wife
of the
tells
night.
stories.
Good. You're used to it then.
Yes.
So move into our section Magic Fire, where we talk about the physical book itself. So we're going to read the back of the book. Becca, you got that for me tonight?
Yeah. Okay. The secret mission lasted forever. It is 200 years in the future. 18-year-old Paige Christian has been given a chance to join the crew of the Traveler, a special spaceship designed to circle the solar system at near light speed. One day aboard the Traveler is equal to 10 years on Earth. The Traveler is a time capsule as well as a spaceship. Its purpose is to study the changes on Earth throughout 2 centuries and then return home. But something happens to the Traveler. Something also happens to the Earth, an awful thing. In the years past, billions of them, and still Paige Christian lives, and remembers all those that she left behind. Until the day she finally does come home to a world and a future no human being could have imagined. Dun, dun, dun.
Dun, dun, dun. Now we got the artwork here. This is, again, not Brian Kotsky. This is the latter-day Pike artist. What the fuck am I talking about?
Mark Garrow or Mark Garrow. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but
Mark
that's who did
Garrow. And it's a giant hourglass with some alien symbols and lights up top, and we've got a whole lot of skulls just to pretend it's a horror book when it's not.
And it's holographic, or at least mine is.
Mm-hmm. I got glitter.
Well, the little bubbles at least are definitely meant to stand out for sure. Okay, so that back of the book is very accurate. Wouldn't you agree?
I would agree.
Good. Okay.
Yeah, it's on point with the story, I think.
Yeah, the vibes.
I was not misled.
I purposely didn't read it before reading the book because I listened to the show and I didn't want to risk it. But yeah, this one's...
Yeah, you never know what the back of the book's going to tell you.
That's
Yeah,
true.
I never read the back of the book until I do it here. So.
It's either way too much information or completely incorrect information. So it's a fairly accurate book cover and interior. Then,
I mean, to be quite frank with you. Okay,
yes, be frank.
Spoiler alert, I do not like this book. I am so sorry, Cassie. I feel like you knew that I wasn't going to like it, though.
I knew! Becca, I knew so hard you were going to hate this book, and I'm sorry for making you endure it. But
No,
I love
it's
it so much.
I would say I do like the cover better than the book. So I like the hourglass. I am so sorry, Cassie.
It's okay.
I was like reading this and I was like, I could tell Cassie why she likes this, but I am just not. I was so excited for it to be over.
Oh my God.
Wow.
I'm like slamming her book and like
God.
she's
No,
laughing.
no.
Because it's I knew, Becca. I was like, I cannot, like, I don't know what she's going to say about this, but she's not going to be pleased because it has everything she doesn't like and nothing that she does.
That's true. That's true.
Well, okay, I'm going to talk about it later, like when we do our like favorite lines or whatever, but there's one thing I really, really liked, okay? One sentence in this whole book.
Oh, a sentence. Okay, because I was picturing one specific scene, or like, we'll get into it, but I feel like there was one gory thing.
Yeah, it might be the one.
Paige's father's all gored up.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Oh God.
I'm glad you guys know me.
Yeah, if I had to guess what it is Becca liked, it would be that.
I'll read it to you guys later. I'm excited.
I love it.
Well, let's head into the Midnight Club and talk our characters. It is really funny because this is one that Cassie has talked about how much she loves this book. And I reassured her I didn't dislike it. I enjoyed
And then
it.
there's me.
And then, but I will say right off the bat, this feels like those sections of some other Pike books we've read where he's summarizing a bigger story.
Like Monster.
Like, yeah, right. With the story of the aliens. It feels like this is a treatment for a saga. You know, it's not, I mean, and I feel like he could have gotten 4 or 5 books out of this. This
Becca's
feels
just
like
screaming no.
Don't tell on me.
I mean, if he had done that, Becca might have liked it more.
True. It's possible.
Because right now, what it feels like is a lot of surfacey stuff. Because we do have our main character, Paige, and she's telling us all this stuff that is happening. And it feels a lot like those sections of The Last Vampire that are just wide swaths of the history of our character that would be actually interesting to have scenes and dialogue and characters instead of just having, and then this happened, and then this happened, and then this happened, and I did this, and I did this. And I mean, this is way more information than we usually talk about in the Midnight Club, but it's an interesting thing that we've seen this from Pike a few times, and I do wonder if it's because of his deals with publishers that he just did not have the space to write a larger story.
I mean, has he ever heard about editing though? Like, Like, if you have so much in it, like, take some of it out and, like, maybe make it good. I'm so sorry.
Wow.
I'm being savage. I apologize.
Wow.
You
It
know,
has too much in it. Maybe take some out and make it good.
listen, I review books for fun, okay? I have to be honest. This is like my integrity right here. I will not lie to you. This is not good.
Okay. Okay. Well,
So sorry.
let's talk about elements then. We got to rein Becca in here. Let's talk about Paige Christian, our main character, the multiple hundreds of centuries woman, Paige Christian. Did you like her, Becca?
No.
No. Okay.
I didn't like anyone. Maybe Cabrina.
Yeah.
That was about it.
It's first of all, this made me think of an episode of Futurama with a time machine where they go around multiple times, where they see the end of the universe and then it re-begins and they go around again. So I was thinking about that the whole time, and what a great episode that is, and how,
So what's wrong with that?
I was hoping for more here. Nothing.
I mean, it's playing off of certain Stephen Hawking theories as far as the expansion and contraction of the universe.
And is it okay? So this is important. Is it meant? Are we meant to understand that it's literally the same universe each time?
I think that was a Pike thing. It's supposed to be everything collapses through the black hole and comes out the white hole, and you essentially have another Big Bang. But it shouldn't be exactly the same. Like, that's really weird determinism.
Yeah, I mean, because we also have so essentially he's taken the theory that there are infinite futures, which is fine. That's a legit theory. And he's combined that with a time travel story. Because the alpha woman who's in the beginning of the book implies that this already happened. Which, how could it have already happened?
Did you see Netflix Dark?
Okay. I didn't.
So that has to do with...
Is that the same story also?
No, but it has to do with time loops that become time knots, so they can't exist without there having been time travel.
Okay.
Not to jump ahead of our characters, but it seems like this has always been the way it was, and always the way it will be. And every time the universe is destroyed, it'll be this again. And everything will just wrap round and round for Paige Christian.
Right. Well, then there's inevitability. And that's part of the deal with this, is that it feels like free will, but it's actually not. It's predestined. Right. So we do get the idea then that this is the story of the universe, and it will start and end the same way. It will happen the same way. And it's a very interesting conceit, and I do really enjoy the fact that we go all the way through to the literal end of the universe and start again. It just really struck me as odd when they also pulled basically it's the bootstrap paradox, the time travel one, where nothing can happen without it having already happened. And that's problematic for me, but that's plot. That's not character. But I feel like Paige is indistinguishable from plot.
I think so too, especially because of the whole free will thing,
and because she's all we spend time with for most of the book. Like the back half of the book is just Paige essentially, and some robots. There are some robots that she hangs out and talks with. It's really lonely back half there.
This is so timey-wimey for me.
It is.
It's just,
I mean,
maybe
okay.
I'm too dumb. Maybe that's the problem. Or maybe I have taste. No, I'm just kidding.
Whoa!
I'm just kidding. That was a joke.
Whoa!
Once I
Becca is stabbing it in and breaking it off.
Once I get
here.
started, I just can't stop. I'm so sorry.
Paige is tall and thin and could eat all she wanted, like future McDonald's, perhaps.
It was. I mean, every time I see that now, it's just like, okay, you say that in every book now,
Right.
like tall and skinny, and can eat whatever she wanted and never gain a pound. Not only that, her hair is red. We have a lot of redheads in Pike. Her eyes are green. We have a lot of green-eyed people in Pike. So I mean, Paige is a very standard Pike girl. And she's 18, which is also very standard Pike. I mean, it's really an unusual book because we open with Paige going to the there's a lot of elements of interesting ideas here. Paige is going to the library to be zapped with information and to then have that information forever. And I thought that was going to be important.
I did too. I wrote a bunch of notes about it. I was like educational ASMR, heavy balloon.
Yeah. But then it's not. I
thought that part was really cool. Okay. I want to throw it out there since I'm hating so hard. I like the little hypno prompt thingy.
I think that was supposed to set up too the fact that she can then get the memories from the alien creature and then that she can give her memories to the child, because the way that they explain that thing is basically exactly how that works. Like it's all like put into your brain and it takes you a second to process it or a little bit, but then like it's as if you had the knowledge all along.
Right.
So I think it's just like a comparison type thing.
I do find it very sort of obnoxious that she's studying the late 20th century, her favorite time.
She's obsessed with the 90s. I can understand that.
You can understand that, a few decades out, but in 200 years, I bet there's going to be more interesting things to be obsessed with than the 1990s.
I think I'll still be obsessed.
Buffy, glittery butterfly clips, inflatable furniture, see-through electronics. Like, I could just keep going. It was a fantastic time.
Polly Pocket?
Yes.
Okay, you say all those things, but what she says is there were riots in the streets back then. People became celebrities for committing murder. Politicians were trying to legislate morality. Popular music was urging people to kill authority figures. It was an insane era.
Okay, she's a little bit misguided because she also thinks that politicians have the best for humanity at heart deep down. So I'm not saying she's the brightest girl. I'm just saying her fascination with the 90s is completely like logical for me. I was like, oh yeah, girl, that is a good time to be obsessed with. I get that.
And she enjoys the music from a group called Heavy Balloon.
A heavy metal group too called Heavy Balloon.
Yeah, just the level of obnoxious winky joke that one it's like, hey, Heavy Balloon, you get it?
In his defense, he only made the one joke.
That's true. That's true. He resisted making a whole bunch of jokes about that.
Wait,
but like she knows the lyrics to the song, but doesn't know the name of the band.
It's Led Zeppelin.
I don't know why that's a joke.
It's Led Zeppelin.
Oh shit! Oh my god!
Thank you.
Oh,
I didn't get it either, Kathy.
Oh man!
So let me ask you now, ladies: more obnoxious, less obnoxious? Now that you know,
that's hilarious. I wish there was more of that.
Yeah, I like little Easter eggs, my dude.
That was great. I wish I had understood that while reading that. That's so cool.
I think it's important because it shows that the information has not been well kept.
Completely.
And that kind of suggests why the traveler's mission is so important.
Right. Well, man, this book is so plot-based and not character-based. It's hard to do our normal thing here.
I mean,
because it is all plot.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk about Tem Basker, a character that basically, honestly, does he even really, is he even really a character?
He likes frogs.
He does like frogs.
So much. I wrote this down. I haven't been tempted by any of the creatures around me, human or otherwise.
Yeah. I mean, he also specifically says here it is. I spend all my time with the frogs trying to repair their sex lives while wondering what to do with my own now that you are gone.
Oh dear God.
So romantic.
I mean, it's dramatic, it's thirsty, it's weird. So Tem goes through many different iterations in this book. He is assumedly a real person in this moment at the beginning. He then becomes, he's sort of a body on, okay. So then he becomes her brother, her cloned brother. Then he's also a vessel for the creation. And then at the end, he's just materializes out of something just to have a happy romantic ending.
I think it was the clone thing that really turned me off of all of these characters. Like,
yeah, the fact that they made a brother and sister is weird.
Well, like, can we just say, I forgot about that, but this is also around the time where I read Flowers in the Attic for the first time as a child. So I didn't know that was so abnormal in my literature, and maybe that's why I forgot about it.
It was just in everything. Everyone was brother and sister back then.
I
thought that, well, that's in books. Ew. Like, but we're moving on. Like, they even they specify here, they're like, we never did anything like that. So I'm like,
an incestuous gesture, and I was like, "Do you want a pat on the back?"
It's like, good for you. Well, and the intensely creepy way she creates these clones by specifically extracting cells from his reproductive area while he's in a drugged sleep. With a long needle. I'm trying to find that quote, but it was like,
I might have it.
That's just upsetting. That's just really upsetting.
I didn't pick up on that as a 10-year-old. I did have that marked for my problematic section now.
Okay.
Just so we're clear.
Is this the first time that we get a character that's bluntly called not white? Because he's like half Indian, half 1/4 African, and a bit Irish,
and then a bit Irish.
That's how he looks too. She's just estimating that percentage based on look, right? True. Like, what is that? So again, another thing for the problematic.
She
section.
literally broke down his like percentages.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that until you just mentioned it. That is fucked. Like, oh, you look half Indian. Like, you don't just say that, bro.
No, yeah.
Okay. Thanks for bringing that to my attention. That was not my problematic
Another reason
section.
for you to hate the book.
Yes, thank you so much. I thought it was interesting that we have a non-white guy for once.
I think the entire epilogue is going to be in the problematic section.
Yes, with our blue-skinned Hopis.
I can't remember any of this.
Yeah.
Just to be clear.
Cassie's like, wait a minute.
I'm going to tell you all, and so anybody listening, just for some reason, my brain remembered Cabrina. I didn't remember her as being deaf. I remembered her as a cat person in my brain from a child.
A cat person?
Like in Doctor Who, where there are cat nurses.
Oh, yeah, right.
One of those I pictured. And then for the aliens, I thought they were all lizards.
So you've combined a few Pike.
I think so. I think that's what happened because he does, like you guys have noticed, he does blend things and start repeating certain patterns.
Yes.
And when you're a child and you're just reading through them one after another, I think that's probably what happened somehow. Although this one specifically, I've read so many times, just not since I was probably like 15 or so.
I mean, I totally get why you'd be really into this. Because
I think it was like the first sci-fi book I read.
An epic story. And it is an epic story with a female lead who's got a lot of agency.
I mean, pretty much the entire universe hinges on her.
For most of the book, she doesn't even have that. Yeah.
Yes. You hear that, Becca? I don't have no taste. There was a reason I like this.
I think you have lots of taste. I will have to say, like, yes. Like, the idea of the book is really good, okay? The execution, the incest vibes I got at the end, they were clones, and there was just some issues. And, like, another thing that really bothered me, since we're talking about people with no taste.
Oh, wow. God.
I love you, Cassie. But no,
Becca has literally never been this angry about a book before.
Well, another thing, and I get that Pike does this kind of a lot, but the whole instant love thing, they literally knew each other for a week and were obsessed with each other. Like, she was willing to take him to fucking space with her. Like, no, bitch, you can stay on Earth. I just met you. Like,
or demand your father abort a ridiculously expensive mission.
That is so believable from a teenage vantage point, though. Like, when you are that age, you think everything is like life or death. Like, I can completely believe a teenage girl. Yeah, like, how different is 18 from 16? For me, I was pretty much the same, except legally able to buy cigarettes, and I didn't even smoke. So I did the same shit. I stayed at home. I read books. I played video games. I did not do anything different when I turned 18. So I can believably say, like, or like, I can truly say that it's believable to me that she would be on a ship and like, she's like, oh my God, my boyfriend who I'm convinced that I'm completely in love with is still there. Papa, turn around. We got to go. Papa, can you hear me? You got to turn around. Like, you know, I can believe it like that. You guys are like,
what? I'll just throw a little Yentl in out of nowhere.
Okay, I'm glad you.
Oh my.
I love it.
Unexpected Yentl. I mean, they did spend they took a one night to Hawaii, so we got Hawaii and scuba in the Pikeism section here. So that's what allowed them to solidify their love.
Mm-hmm. Scuba diving, that's what does it.
Yeah, Hawaii. And
is
scuba.
that how you fall in love with somebody in a week?
Yeah.
Yeah. See, Becca, that's gonna be my quote for this episode.
I guess the problem is that I've never been scuba diving, therefore I never fell in love in the matter of 1 week.
Not like that.
That's it.
No.
You can't hate. Don't knock it till you try it.
There is a type of love that you have never known.
I guess.
It's Hawaii scuba love.
I'm really missing out.
I just, you know, with what happens to the Earth later in the book, and then it's just immediately back to mourning him from the 1 week, 200 years previous. And I'm just like, oh my goodness. But Becca, would you have liked the book better if it was Cat Brina, like Cassie thought?
oh heck yeah. I would love a Cat Brina. I feel like a thing that doesn't really help with me in like reading this now at the age of 30, reading an instant love book, is that I just don't vibe with like relationships at this moment. So like looking back, like I just don't like people that much. Okay, I'm just gonna throw that out there. Like I do and I don't.
That's fair.
No, I get that.
Yeah. And like I just don't see myself, and I guess as a 30-year-old is different than an 18-year-old, but still, like, I just am not turned on by romance at all at this point. Like, I'm just like, 1 week? That's stupid.
I think also, you know, like there are certain ways you'll believe that, right? Like, you know, you can make the argument for Romeo and Juliet because the story is their love. This one, we get literally a couple paragraphs of their love. And that's it. And we're supposed to be on board with this the rest of the book. That this is the love story of all time. And it's not really, because she's not actually in love with him in all time. It's this other thing. It's the we need to get to the other characters, I think.
It's a hard book.
On this one. Briefly speak. Yeah, it's really hard to condense the way we have done here. Let's talk about Commander Carl Christian, rare Pike parent in the story.
I mean, he don't last long, like Cassie said he did.
he is dead, yes. And her mother perished from an unexpected solar flare while doing sun research inside the orbit of Mercury.
So specific.
It is very specific, but specific in a way I like, because it's like the Tears in the Rain speech from Blade Runner, where he talks about attack ships off the shoulder of Orion. It's visceral, and it's a major sci-fi thing that you know is happening in the background, and that's a world building thing, and I think that's successful personally.
Yeah,
but ultimately they're not important.
Captain Carl Christian is such a forceful, like, you know, masculine name. And then his second in command is named Number One.
Yeah, does he have a real name?
I couldn't find it
one.
either.
I kind of want to say that I vaguely remember something being mentioned, but I cannot tell you what that is or if I'm lying to you.
Because literally, when they mention number one, it's because it's Cabrina's father. Her father was my father's first officer. Number one. That's it. There's no information beyond
Maybe
that.
that was just his name.
Oh, that could be.
First name number, last name one. Love that.
I guess if your last name was
as
one,
said,
I mean, you have an opportunity
to
to
call
ruin
a
your
number.
kid's life.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I love it.
Well, let's talk about non-cat Cabrina,
Which is unfortunate.
who works in the garden. She's short and soft-spoken. Her hair was a golden halo, fine as silk. This is just an interesting sentence. I loved to brush it when she'd let me. It strikes me as odd. I'm sorry.
You don't brush your friend's hair?
Well, no, it's the when she. I don't know. It's the
I
when
should
she
brush
let me.
my own hair. I'm going to be real with you. Like, that is so like annoying to do that I'm just like, put it in a ponytail, leave it alone, pretend nobody can notice the knots.
I messy bun it every single day. Like, it's knotted bad. Like,
Yeah, same. Oh my gosh, I'll brush it, and that's when I'll take my selfies because I'm like, my hair looks actually good today. And then everybody's like, your hair looks good all the time. Like, yeah, it looks good for the like 5 days of the month I took a selfie. You're welcome.
So Cabrina is deaf and can apparently read lips like no deaf person in the solar system.
Oh.
So I don't know if that's meant that we are to assume that she is a vessel because she becomes a vessel. But she's also not really a character for being Paige Christian's best friend on this mission. She becomes the creation so quickly.
I mean, the plot really takes over every personality in this story.
It really does. It really does. So, Cabrina, she's not a cat. Let's move on.
I want to say that she is one. Like, I know that she doesn't have much of anything in this book, but I do find her to be the cutest. I don't know why, but she like calls out to me as a little cutie. That's all.
I get that.
Maybe because she's working in a garden. I don't know.
She's just minding her own business in the garden when the creation takes over her body.
I just think she's a little cutie girl.
Just picture as her a girl cat, though, now in the garden. Isn't that even cuter?
Yes, like honestly, I don't want to think of her any other way now.
They never specified she wasn't a cat, to be fair.
That's true.
Oh my
true.
god. They didn't specify anyone else wasn't lizards, so...
That's true, okay.
The Shamir aren't really... Like, they're not described in a way... Like, they're described in a very ambiguous way, so you never know.
They could be lizards. I mean, they do have giant heads, and they use a lot of moisture in their dialogue.
Oh, that's definitely lizard.
Large, slobbery mouths.
Oh,
that sounds like
massive, solid blue eyes. Okay, so the Shamir, the artificial villains of this story.
The lizards.
Okay, so as we got deeper into the story, it's like, okay, I assumed some of these things, but then when she literally created the Shamir,
Yeah.
I don't even know how to process this book anymore.
Well, I kind of like, yeah, I also like was like, is this where they're going with this? Because when the Shamir captain is like, we want to make sure you were dead. And I thought about it and I was like, is this? And then it kind of tied back to something I was concerned about at the beginning of the book, because they're doing this whole, like, we're going to send the ship out and it's going to monitor the Earth's progress for these 200 years. It's like, but none of the people on the ship are going to be going along with any of that social progress. You're essentially creating like your ultra conservative. And a lot of times that can lead to genocidal situations, which is what she does. She ends up by doing that with the Shamir. She kills everyone who's actually progressed for those 2 centuries, except the people on the ship who she was with at the time.
Shit.
And then killed her own dad.
I mean, I
feel like Hailey just like mic dropped that.
I mean, this is interesting, and I didn't. I mean, I knew it was a genocide, and I then learned it was. But it's when you really take it to the further level that it is, mankind needed to see this genocide of mankind in order to evolve into better creatures, because that's what the creation is saying. So Paige literally destroyed the vast majority of humanity so a tiny bit of humanity can evolve, right?
Yep. That's how I read it.
That's really problematic. Huh.
Just a long pause. Huh.
I mean,
I think on a philosophical level, I think the idea is that we would transcend beyond the need for bodies and just be the soul that exists like beyond time, so that at any given point, any soul that's experiencing anything is that same consciousness. And that's a lovely sentiment, but the problem with that is exterminating billions of lives.
Yeah. Who all don't get to
right,
transcend.
and they don't get to, like, the assumption, I guess, is their souls join the whole, like, soul ocean or whatever. But the thing is, like, it wasn't their choice.
Well, but that's the question, though, is if their souls just join the soul ocean, why do they need to transcend in the first place? Isn't that just saying that everybody
but
dead
then why
is
is
better?
Tem there?
So, yeah, I mean, none of it actually makes sense. Actually, now reading the creation as a malevolent entity, that makes sense.
Right. And so, okay, remember how one of our listeners mentioned that all the bad people usually have emerald green eyes? I know this book paints out Paige to be like the protagonist, but I think she's actually a bad guy. Huh. And I think that's why I like this so much, because I thought that when I was little too. Like, I was like, she's not good. Like, she does not do good things. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't hate her, but I'm like, what are you doing? Like, this is all bad. But there are parts of her that I'm like, I understand this. And then she does other things.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck, girl, sit down. What are you doing? So I think
I agree with you. I don't think she's a good person. I do think she's a compelling character in like a Walter White type of way. Mm-hmm. Not as smart, but definitely as driven.
Yeah. Well, she has the Shamir's logic and knowledge now, which I like that they pointed out the chicken or the egg thing, because I was like, wait, if she got the knowledge from them and then they are her, and then they're like, well, that doesn't, who knows?
And
it's just a mystery.
And I count by making a clone of her that goes off to do a completely different set of events, but is also her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that brought up the argument that I love to have with people. Because everyone talks about how, we could move our minds into a computer and live forever, right? That's the singularity goal, is to be uploaded. But that's not you, because you still exist. So, like, you're uploading your mind, you're not moving your mind. You're making a copy of your mind. So that thing in the computer thinks it's you, but you still exist. So you will die.
Yeah, it's a completely...
That thing will live on.
Yeah, it's a completely external basis. Like, well, to everyone else, it's the same as like, yeah, but what about me?
Right. But what about me? Yeah. It's like there is no living forever for us. There is only the living forever of our mental capacity. So this idea of the cloning, that junior clone knows everything up until that very moment, but Paige Christian is not living forever. It's that clone now. Paige is dying. That clone lives on.
But they could see each other at the same time, so they were having like the same thoughts. Like,
but it's still not them.
What's the creation?
Well, yeah, then we have that problem.
So had she already become the creation by that point?
I don't know anymore.
Okay, here's where the narrative clearly just folds in on itself.
Okay,
So let's talk.
Sorry.
Let's talk about the creation. I mean, I get irritated when we start talking about God in stories. And so to call a being the creation really made me uncomfortable for a little while because I thought we were going to a Christian creation story. But we didn't really go there, which is good. That made me happy. But ultimately, we went to a different place that was uncomfortable for me. So the creation has a series of steps that you have to ascend to become part of it, which is why all those people on Earth just died. Because they did not get to go through all 7 of these bizarro steps. And I say bizarro because I really feel like steps 3 through 7 were just created in a feverish rush to complete this book by Pike. But the fact that number 1 is discrimination, and I know it's not the kind of discrimination we often talk about, but that really bothered me. The amount they say the word discrimination and how important it is. And I know it's silly because they're talking about different kind of discrimination, but did that bother anyone else?
I think it threw me off a couple times, just like because seeing that word, you do automatically, or at least I do mentally go to a certain place, and then I would have to keep reminding myself that's not that's not what they're saying, or that's not what they mean. So yeah, that did. I don't remember that from being younger either. But yeah, that was because like you, I know that that's not what they meant, but still reading it in the sentence while you're just going with the flow is like, wait, what?
And so the discrimination is discrimination between the real and the unreal, which it's iffy, but I feel like, honestly, I feel like her love for Tem should fall into the unreal section here.
I think perception would have been a better word to use.
Yes, it would have. But then, I mean, this is hard to talk about. You know what? Let's just jump into Remember Me and talk plot.
So we've been doing that for the last 25 minutes.
I just can't literally break this out anymore. Okay. Okay, let's see if we can figure out the plot here. So Paige gets to go on a spaceship that's going to orbit the solar system and watch them evolve for 200 years for reasons that don't make a whole lot of sense. And then come back.
Wait, wasn't she going to like the future to go back to the past to like kind of explain what she learned? Wait,
what?
They were going to go. Okay, they're not going to go back to the past. They're going into the future, and then they were going to like reconnect.
They were
I think with them
using Einstein's theory of relativity, which is the closer you're traveling to the speed of light, the slower time is going for you. So for them, things are going very slowly. For Earth, it was going at normal speed. So essentially, they would get to do that for a bit. For them, it was only a few days. For Earth, it'd be 200 years. And so after doing that, after 200 years passed on Earth, they would go back to Earth and be like, well, here's all the things you guys got wrong about 200 years ago.
Right, so they were going back.
They were going to return to Earth,
They were
but
going
not
back
in
to
time.
Earth, but not back in time. Yeah.
Oh my god, okay. Never mind.
Well, and
I knew she wasn't going back to Tem. I just thought that she was going back, and then they would never. I don't know what my brain thought.
Well, no, I mean it is confusing because she does essentially go back in time by going forward in time.
Timey-wimey, I tell you.
Yeah, it is. But what is the point of telling the people on Earth what 200 years have looked like? Okay, no one has an answer, so I'll see.
I mean, again, I said
confused.
my theory earlier about creating an ultra conservative.
Oh yes, right.
But
right.
I don't know why you'd want to do that.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like something you could get government funding for. I mean, now I'm rethinking that idea.
The other was that this was kind of a test run on their near light speed travel stuff, and then they were going to use this to do more colonies and such outside of the solar system.
Yeah. But it strikes me as if you're going to bring anything up to light speed, you should point it out, not go in a loop. Because the loop is pointless. I don't know.
I mean, they were supposed to monitor the Earth and like watch the cultural shifts, but again, I don't. From a historian point of view, I understand, but I feel like this is a really convoluted way to do that.
That's one of the reasons why I really feel like he had a much grander plan than he was ultimately allowed to create. Because have any of you read the sequels to Ender's Game?
I've read a couple of them.
I've never read Ender's Game.
Well, I love those, and as much as it hates me that I love those sequels because I hate Orson Scott Card because he's a monster. But those sequels are amazing and beautiful sci-fi in a way I'd never encountered before, because they're all these epic time spans, and they're taking characters and going for real long haul ideas with them. And that's what this felt like to me. Like, this could have been these series of books, this big collection of like hard sci-fi stories. And it really made me wonder, did Pike not want to write that? Or did he think he could somehow condense this into a Reader's Digest condensed books version? Because that's what we got. We got this overarching narrative that really reminded me of a prose treatment of a grander story.
I mean, the entire destruction of Earth takes place in one paragraph.
Yeah. Yes. And I mean, and I know Becca doesn't want more of this.
No.
But I feel like he could have been really successful in expanding this idea.
I mean, like you said before, though, it's possible that if he did do multiple books and like spent more time on certain things, maybe it would have been more enjoyable.
I don't know if I would have enjoyed that, because I think this, for me, this worked as just kind of this like little thing to kind of, hop through. Whereas I'm not sure that Pike understood the ideas he was playing with enough to stretch them out over a few books.
That very well could be. And I do see that in a lot of Pike. Like, he hears something cool. Like we had DNA in the last book, gene manipulation. So he hears something cool and he puts it in the book. And that's cool. That's fine. I like that.
I mean, especially for a young audience, it's like exposure at the very least.
Yes, exactly.
I think the exposure is probably my favorite part of it too, because there's so many different things in so many of his books that are so different from a lot of things. And it's not just like the sex or anything, but it's just the themes and ideas and stuff that they're not in other, or they weren't, especially at the time, in other like teen or younger adult books. And so I agree that I don't know that he would be able to expand on this particular thing, especially with how flimsy the first thing is, like just so we have this pocket of insurance out there in space somewhere since we're advancing now. But like, I also think with how rapidly he was releasing these books, having even like enough to write 200 pages like several times a year with such weird different themes, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Like, and so like, just imagine if he had spent all of that focus on one book, like one good, actually thought out storyline with like all these elements. Like, I feel like it would be really cool.
And I'll say, like, I didn't read any Christopher Pike growing up. I did see the covers here and there, but like I did read Goosebumps, and those were as hit and miss as these were. But I will say, like, listening to the PikeCast, this Pike goes the distance a lot more than R.L. Stine did. Like, because usual R.L. Stine stuff was, there's a monster in the neighborhood, or you're going to see somebody like a relative or a friend, and there's a monster there, and that's pretty much it for the most part. Like, it gets weird, but it's not like intelligent weird. It's just kind of like, now it's the monster's actually a robot. And then it was actually controlled by aliens, but it's not like it's exploring that stuff. Whereas with these, it's just like, yeah, it's just, there's a lot more. Yeah, it's more of a grab bag, but at least that keeps it fresh. And at least it keeps it like, if you were like a 13-year-old or something, and it's like, oh, I'd never heard of that idea before. Like I'd never like this. Yeah, it's wrong, but at least you're being exposed. I is my opinion at least.
Well, no, that's very accurate with this, because he takes shots, and he misses sometimes, but he takes the shot, and that's why I think I really, even if I don't like the book, I like the shot he's taking, and there's this section here that really, really drew me. It's when she's going out to the end of the universe, essentially. You have to sail out beyond the furthest star at a speed so close to that of light that all of what is left of time passes in the twinkle of a star. In that void, you will see the creation fall back in on itself. The dead stars, the burnt-out galaxies, they will all begin to rush toward a single point, and when they reach it, there will be an explosion of light and energy, and a new creation will begin. Then you will turn your ship around and sail back to the time and place just before you left the Earth. There you will find a new Earth, identical to the one you left long ago. There you will find another humanity. And that's very interesting. Unfortunately, we went time travel instead of duplicate, because I buy the duplicate. I believe that. But there's no first cause then. There's no alpha book in her first run if it's not time travel, because it can't be a circle. I mean,
I think it is a circle, though.
It is, because they even say which came first with the other thing. Like, it is a circle, one that they do not explain
they said
at all.
In True Detective, time is a flat circle.
Yes, and it didn't make sense there
but it
either.
Does, if you think about it in a quantum physics way, which Pike does not explain in the slightest.
I mean, but isn't quantum physics also has to have a first?
No, not if it's a Mobius
incident.
strip.
Yeah, it just keeps going and just starting over and going back and starting over.
I don't like it.
It's a Mobius strip of a story.
I don't like a Mobius strip story.
I feel like every time we do a sci-fi Pike book, I need Hailey Piper to read it with us so she can talk me through it.
I will say this was definitely the right book for me to read.
Yeah.
I think I might have understood what Pike was playing with better than he did at points.
I feel like I did at times too.
This was, I would have eaten this up when I was a kid, though. Like, definitely.
Yeah, it is a hearty meal for a young reader. Like a heartier meal than you get from almost anything. And if it wasn't so focused on this stupid relationship at the core of it, that doesn't make sense and is weirdly incestuous, I found it. 3 years after returning home, I discovered I was pregnant. I wasn't surprised, since I had artificially inseminated myself, not just with sperm, but with cells taken from Tem's reproductive area that I had taken one night with a long syringe while he lay in drugged sleep.
It's unfortunate. He couldn't even give her consent on that, dude.
Yeah, the SVU alarm bells are just like...
I did not ringing.
As soon as I seen that part, I was like, are you serious?
Drugged sleep. The baby wasn't Tem's, it was Tem.
Oh my god, that's so awkward. I hate it.
I do think it's so awkward that the baby is him, because like you're carrying the love of your life in your womb. Like, ew, gross.
Yeah, you carry the love of your life in your womb, then you carry a duplicate of yourself, and then you set them. I mean, it's really distressing.
That relationship went from 0 to 100 real fast, and they only knew each other originally for a week.
100. Like they've got this mind meld.
I can't get
like
behind
they're talking
that.
about mind meld, and it sounded kinky. And I'm just like, do not Jean and Cyclops this. It's not healthy.
Okay, so I've got another quote here that fucks with everything. You look like me. No, you look like you don't remember me, Paige, I said softly. I met you a couple years ago. We were introduced at a party for a mutual friend. My name's Alpha Book. What does that mean? Because it's not true.
Well, I think that was just like their way, or Alpha Book's way of introducing.
Yeah, it's bullshit.
Yeah.
But
She's
why?
lying.
Because
how
why?
She's just standing there staring at her. She like walked up to her and then she said her name. I mean, you gotta say, you gotta be like,
she was going to shoot her and end the cycle, but the thing is, the cycle had already happened, so we knew she wasn't going to shoot her. So she had to tell this lie and then send her off to Tem, which would lead her back to
fucking bootstrap
to want
paradox.
to come shoot her, but then she doesn't.
Go play with the frog guy.
That's actually something I did like in this book, though. I like that, like, we started off with Alpha Book, and then it, like, circled back to Alpha Book, and I like when things do that. Like, I like going back and being like, okay, this is what's happening. And so,
well, Alpha Book is the first page of the story.
It's the first page of the story.
Yeah.
Ooh.
That's one of those things where it sounds like as an 11-year-old. That's like, oh my God.
Oh yeah, totally.
No.
Can we have a discussion, as in, can you guys explain the whole point to the infected finger and why it went on for so long but didn't seem to matter whatsoever?
Symbolism,
yes,
Becca!
That was the whole reason. Because it looks like the Shamir ship.
Thank you.
Yeah, and it's bad.
Wait,
and
her
then she
infected finger looked like a ship?
No, the thorn.
No, it looked like the thorn.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Becca, it's not good.
See, Becca, masterpiece.
Yeah, it's like I guess you guys are right. You guys are right the whole time.
No, that irritated the hell out of me, honestly, because it's like, well, why does this matter? No, I know you keep bringing it up, but it clearly doesn't matter.
And see, in a different kind of book, it would be fine, but everything is so laid out laboriously here that if something's mentioned multiple times, it feels like it has to be something important.
I think it is something important, though, because she gets pricked before she realizes that she created that entire race. So, like, she's pricked and she has, like, this weird feeling, and she even says, like, it's almost like a premonition type thing where she has, like, this feeling of it and that it keeps staying with her and she gets infected from it. And then she feels like her blood is infected and that she's now bad. And then she goes on to do all this fucked up shit. She didn't do all the fucked up shit before that.
But she did, because it's a circle.
Okay, no, yes, but her younger self doesn't do that until later, and then Alpha Book comes back, and then her younger self, at the time, remember, she says she's so innocent and sweet still. I feel like the thorn happening, it's symbolism between her being that sweet, younger, innocent self and becoming something that will eventually make the ship that has the same symbol. Like, it makes sense that then she goes on, and the ships that they create look like this thing that she feels poisoned her. Symbolism.
So there's that.
I'm like the guy from that picture with that show. I don't remember the show because I don't watch
it.
I know. He's in front of the board with all of the the lines trying to connect everything. Like
that's Always Sunny.
I was doing it with my hands. I was literally trying to explain it like that.
No, I get what you're saying, and I think you're right. That's what he intended.
It flopped, though.
I don't think it's good.
Look, you know what? You guys need to learn some time traveling. You need to go back in your own Mobius strips to the beginning of when you were like 9 and 10 years old, and then read this book, and then rejoin me for this episode.
But we can't. We'll just be copies, Cassie.
Yeah,
that's true.
It's not the original.
We can. If we didn't read it when we were younger, we can never read it when we were younger.
Yeah, time's a circle.
Damn it.
Damn it, Pike.
Okay, so let's
Yes.
Okay. So She is the mother of the Shamir.
Mm-hmm.
Which every time I say it, it sounds more like the bagel spread.
Would you like Shamir with that?
No. It's a deadly bagel spread.
Oh my god, I love it.
But why do they look
There's
like
a lot
that?
of long pauses to talk. I think this book takes less patience to read than to talk about.
That's true, because when I was reading it, it's just like, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
to be my patience.
But
was
now
wearing
that
thin
I'm
the whole
actually
time.
reflecting on it, it's just like, what the fuck are you doing, Pike? So this second ship that's launched that has her and Tem clones on it.
And their children.
And their children.
Wait,
Yeah, children clones.
No, it's not their clones. The children are clones, but that's just them in the other. It's her.
That's the
It's
original
her
them?
from the previous universe and the original Tem.
It's Alpha Book.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay.
Alpha Book and original Tem, and then clone babies.
I can't talk about
Clone
this
babies.
anymore.
Clone babies. Okay.
Haley's gonna be our first guest to just leave. in the middle of
Just
the
peace out.
I liked this book, but
I know, same.
holy shit!
Oh my god.
So
I feel like
that
it's
ship
breaking
was
you
named the
guys.
Pandora, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Which why would you do that?
So because they set up the Pandora, but then they never remind us that they called the ship the Pandora, and it was the ship that unleashed the evil on the world. Because that is the ship that sends off the deadly Shamir race.
Is it?
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they
that
detach
ship
part of
breaks
the
in
ship.
half.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right. You're
And
right.
one half goes out to the edge of the galaxy
Oh my
with
God.
the Shamir.
But they were sent off before they come back to destroy humanity.
Maybe if the
Yes.
Shamir had known their mother's love and she hadn't just sent them off into the galaxy to fend for themselves,
I
it would have
mean,
turned out a little bit different.
Honestly, you're right there. Hold on. I know you were being flippant with that, Cassie.
No, my mom's terrible. I was being totally true.
Okay. But doesn't that sound like that's what the book should have done? It should have been like trying to undo the horrors rather than just, oh yeah, I had to, so I did. Because that's what we're doing.
Yeah,
I had to, so I did.
we're saying like all this genocide is necessary because ellipses.
Yeah. Which is really bad.
The PikeCast, genocide is bad.
Genocide,
Yeah.
we're
Our
coming.
official stance.
Yeah. I mean, it's especially, we're going to take a break. And we'll be back with more of the PikeCast. You should come back.
You should come.
We'll be back.
Don't leave. We're not done.
Wow, friends. Where else can you get this kind of programming than the PikeCast? Nowhere. That's where. But we're trying to keep the lights on here. If you like what you're hearing and want it to keep happening, jump over to our Patreon at thepikecast.com/Patreon and throw us a few bucks to join our private Discord server. Higher tiers get books, stickers, bookmarks, and even personalized shirts. That's thepikecast.com/Patreon.
Once, Osgood and Frost were the up-and-coming stars of the burgeoning paranormal investigation TV show craze before a hoax put an end to their friendship, partnership, and television careers. Now, over a decade later, Prudence Osgood is a barely functioning alcoholic ghost hunter for hire. Her yearning for mystery and adventure is reignited when she receives a cryptic, untraceable email. She can't resist embarking on an investigation that tugs threads, winding through a sinister series of disappearances, her former partner's family, and a night 20 years ago when a semi blew a yellow light and nearly killed her. Reviewers are calling As Good As Gone a masterfully vulnerable and relatable 21st century horror story, and a bourbon-soaked supernatural mystery with sparkling dialogue that sticks the landing on LGBT characters, and main character Prudence Osgood, as tortured as she is clever, broken in all the best ways, and a true heroine for our times. Buy it today at As Good As Gone as a paperback, ebook, or audiobook narrated by me, JJ Ranvier.
Welcome back to the PikeCast. We took a very well-needed break there. Now, we got to get back to this.
Becca, you fucked me up.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
I couldn't help but giggle.
I'm sorry.
Everyone's very giggly today.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so let's skip to a plot section here, where I think she's alpha book at this point. Jumped ship at a planet called Sergo 2 in the Pleiades, which is my favorite.
Are we in the epilogue now?
Is this the epilogue? That epilogue is like 60 pages long. It's the most of the book, honestly.
Yeah, it's like 40. Yeah, it's 40 out of 200 pages.
That's ridiculous.
More like epilogue.
I don't know. Maybe that should be the subtitle of the episode. So she finds an indigenous race of Homo sapiens. Where they came from, no one could imagine, but they looked exactly like us, except for their light blue skin. She found the Na'vi, by the way.
I was thinking that.
As a race, yeah. The closest comparison I could make to their culture would have been the early American Indians. They dressed and danced like the ancient Hopis. All right. All right. So white God comes to the indigenous people and begins to make tapestries of religious symbolism.
I thought it was just like secrets to the universe, they said.
Okay, so white God comes to the ancient Hopis and begins to give them the secrets of the universe. This may as well, I mean, really a lot of this book may as well sit in the problematic section of our episode. It is problematic.
In space, there is still cultural appropriation.
I don't know what to do with this, honestly. I mean, I'm usually pretty good at breaking down the thrust of these plots, but it's so okay. So she meets the fake indigenous. Well, no, they're not fake indigenous people because they are indigenous to that planet. She goes to meet the great elder, who is a boy, which was not a surprise to me, and then becomes one with the creation.
And then she gets Tem back. Yay!
Yeah, and then Tem evolves out of the creationist sludge, and they walk into the water together. What the fuck is that ending?
Love wins.
But why? Why does love win?
I wish I knew, because it was only 1 week, man.
She killed a lot of people for it.
Oh,
she did. She killed a lot of fucking people. Most of the people. She killed most of the people.
She's a hot mess.
Honest. Okay. So
she at least she's tall and thin and can eat all she wanted.
That's true. I guess that makes up for everything.
By the end, though, she has no appetite because she's part of the creation.
Right.
She's no longer hungry. Yeah. No McDonald's in the future for her.
So let's talk logistics here. The creation implies a creator, right?
I would say
Well,
so.
they said there's no hierarchy. They said that it's just them, like they just exist.
They also
Well, but
said go kill all
what
the
are they
people.
the creation of? I don't know. I got very uncomfortable by, first of all, the fact that Christianity would still exist in its same form in 200 years. That made me uncomfortable. And then second, that this whole thing is the creation. I don't understand. I don't get it. Listeners, do you get it? Please tell us.
Cry for help.
I am. This is a cry for help.
This whole episode.
This is me, Cooper, asking for help. Somebody else say something because I'm lost.
Okay.
Truly.
I mean, I'm on your level, dude.
Well, okay. So I had written down that they said there is no death, so everything's okay.
Oh, that's true. They did say that.
That
Yeah,
sounds
so
so
that negates all of her
happy.
damage.
No, it doesn't. Because how could it? Because if the only way to join the creation is to ascend up the 7 levels, and those people didn't, it's like the Pope putting people in who are not baptized into purgatory. There may not be death, but they don't get to be part of the creation. Unless the book is not paying any attention to its own rules, which I think is a very legitimate
I think
thought.
that is possibly it because the Alosha says that the creation says the universe repeats over and over so that the ascension can happen, but nothing changes. So I don't know if like the consciousness of itself is learning more per each experience, even though it's doing the same thing over and over.
I think it's also a little confusing too, because then they say that like your soul will go through different lifetimes, and so you'll experience, like, you'll live as a beggar, you'll live as a rich person, you'll live as this, you'll live as that, but Paige is just living as Paige Alpha, like Paige is baby Paige. Like, that also doesn't go along with any of it. So that was something I noticed this read, because I was like, it doesn't seem like that's following what they just told me it should follow.
I mean, I wonder if it's going with...
That's such an intriguing idea.
Sorry.
Sorry. No, I was just saying, like, the whole thing Cassie just said about, like, living your life with multiple, like, a beggar and a rich person. I was just saying that was really intriguing. That's all. Nothing important. I was just chiming in.
No, it is. And I think it's trying to do the one soul idea where there is only one soul and it's just experiencing all these different lives, which makes you wonder. I mean, I don't know if the one ascension is supposed to be just for the Paige part of it, but it also makes the whole genocide pointless then. So or at least just a way to put things on fast forward, but that just seems cruel.
Or is it saying specifically this entire thing exists to put Paige in the right place?
That'd be really fucked up.
And she is the one soul. I don't know. Like there was a discussion in the original version of Groundhog Day. Yeah, I'm going to Groundhog Day. It was supposed to take place for thousands of years. He was going to be there for thousands of years. And the idea is his humanity has to level up. And that's pretty much what the movie is. But if that is the idea here, that's a good idea, that humanity goes through the same things over and over until it gets pieces right and then keeps going and evolving. But that's not what they're telling us, because they're telling us it is a circle and the same things happen. So if the same things happen, nobody's learning anything, except for apparently Paige.
I think on some level we have to acknowledge that it doesn't play by its own rules.
Yeah, I think we have to. Yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. Which is frustrating, honestly.
I can just hear the
Maybe-
stress in your sighs.
Because I don't know what to do with this. Honestly.
How about this, Cooper? Imagine this. Imagine that page. Forget everything you've read. She's still in the library, and she's still got those little things in her eyeballs, and she's just watching all of this like a movie.
Oh God, no.
Okay. Honestly, that is the kind of ending I would expect from Pike, and I would go along with that. The very end, she takes off those glasses and goes and meets Tem. Done. Fix
There's
the book.
no alpha book. Yeah, she just goes down the stairs like normal. She's like, "Oh, I had this weird watch this movie about this park. I'm gonna go visit Rainbow Park." Which, hello, can we just say this is the greatest name for a park?
Oh, yeah,
I forgot to mention it.
Absolutely.
How great.
Absolutely.
And 5
Okay,
bears and 5,000 birds.
Yeah.
Yes,
I
and
loved only bears and birds.
Yeah, that's for Banjo Kazooie.
let's talk about that though. This park for the general populace has 5 species of bears in it.
Oh.
And bears tend not to like the general populace in general.
It's really
Neither
big,
does Paige.
so it's like a national park. Don't national parks?
So wait. Rainbow Park is supposed to be like a national park? Because
I
I
mean,
thought
well,
of it like a central park.
No, she says it takes over all of Los Angeles.
Yeah, after the
Oh.
quake.
It's where, because like a crater dropped, or something. Yeah, something leveled
Okay.
it. So
Okay.
now that's
fair
where
enough.
LA was.
I have something to recommend for our listeners.
Is it
to
a park with
watch.
bears in it? Oh.
It's called The World of Tomorrow. It's a series of 3 animated films,
Oh no.
and they're amazing. And it really deals with a lot of very similar themes in a far better way. Because it's about, the first one especially is about a very little girl interacting with the 9th clone of herself from the future. And so it's this clone coming back to talk to a 3-year-old about the future. And it's adorable, and it's really kind of distressing at times, but it's excellent. So The World of Tomorrow, check that out.
I thought you were talking about The Day After Tomorrow, that one where the whole world is like
No.
ending with like
That
snow
one
and
is
stuff.
not good.
What? I love that movie.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to poof you.
I thought you were going to talk about Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow.
Oh, I love
Oh, I forgot about Sky Captain.
I was hoping we were going to talk about a park with bears in it. 'Cause that's where I want to go.
Well, let's move on to. I mean, there is
no bears, no parks.
no bears.
It's not having
No
it
park.
with me.
I mean, you could say son of a bitch.
I'm sorry. Oh.
Is there an enemy other than? I mean, have we determined that Paige is the eternal enemy?
I think
Literally?
so. And
I'd say so.
the savior.
Time.
Yeah, problematic. There is no sexuality in this book,
Except for
disappointingly.
the needle.
Yeah. That needle has more fun than anyone else in the
Okay,
book.
actually,
right there.
can I? What did what was Tem's interest in her?
I don't know. I don't know what, like, he seems to be a person out of time also, but that doesn't make sense.
Soul recognized soul.
No, that's no. Bullshit. Cheap. No. But does that feel like what it's trying to say is that he's also somehow out of time?
He seems to. Wait a second. How is there? Wait, no, it doesn't make sense.
It
Wait,
doesn't.
no, hold on. I'm having another revelation here.
Uh-oh.
Okay, so she went to Earth and found Tem's body. Or she brought his
Right.
body. No, wait. Okay, never mind. All right, no, because he was in the Pandora and she brought his body to Earth. Okay,
Yes,
okay,
he
never
was in
mind.
Pandora.
We're good. I mean, we're as good as we're going to be. I thought there was a Tem on Earth for a second and a Tem who she went fell in love with as Alpha Book and got on the Pandora. So wait, there can't be two Tems, so something's not right. So no, there's only the one Tem, except for the clone son.
And then did she kill him so he couldn't wake up?
Yeah, like with a smile frozen on his face, which is so disturbing.
Yeah.
So she took his reproductive cells, definitely not his sperm, so I'm still confused, and then murdered him so he could then be this kid instead.
But the transfer didn't work.
What the hell is going on with this book? Okay, yeah, she's the bad guy.
I think she is, yeah.
Let's talk about Die Softly, moralizing and problematic elements. I mean, it's just getting more and more problematic as we go. I think
that's been the entire podcast so far is problematic elements.
Yeah. I mean, even in the future, we have this bullshit diet thing. Do you want to have some ice cream? If I cannot have the boy I love, I may as well get fat. Because future. I feel like in 200 years, they would have figured out how to make ice cream healthy. And if they don't, someone's priorities are out of whack. Because all good tasting food should be healthy in the future. No one has anything to say.
No, I mean, honestly, at this point, like, if I could take a pill and just have that replace all of my meals so I don't have to stop what I'm doing to eat, like, that would be better for me.
That would also
so I feel
be
like,
good. Yeah, no.
Yeah, in the future, I'm hoping that we're aiming toward that. But if there could be a pill that was like having a healthy ice cream, I would. Or maybe we as
a society could evolve past this kind of crap. Like, that would be nice too.
That would also be nice. Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Past dieting, past.
I don't think I want to. Like, no matter how I feel about my body, I just want to keep eating anyway. So I'd be really sad if a pill replaced it.
No, I just want it to be an option because for me personally, there are some days where I'm doing too much shit and I'm like, really, I have to eat. Stomach, shut up. Like, I really am doing something right now. Sense. Like, yeah. So for productivity's sake, but not like I do like to eat, so not like an everyday thing.
Right. I mean, eating just makes me so happy, and like making food makes me happy,
and it tastes good.
Mm-hmm.
Makes my tongue happy.
Yes.
Well, after all this, let's move into the season of passage, where we talk about the best and worst writing, because I actually do have several examples of best writing.
I love the whole first chapter.
So, yeah.
Or not the whole first chapter, sorry. The beginning of the first chapter before she starts getting into like regular, like the first few paragraphs.
Yeah. Would you like to read something?
Okay, sure. How do I explain?
If you'd like to,
I'm happy to. How do I explain a life that has lasted for billions of years? It is almost as if I must start with an apology, yes, for being alive when everyone I once knew is dead. I'm not being able to read this with a straight face now because it completely takes on a different
we've
context
ruined
now.
It
oh my! It was like, oh, this is so pretty at the start. It's like, but because my love for them still lives, I believe their souls forgive me. Jesus.
Oh
but
my
does
God.
The universe? I wonder.
Wow.
I've watched even the stars change as their energies dwindle and their light dims. I love them as well. They are all I have left, the stars and the memory of the many times I wished upon them. But with all those wishes, I asked for only one thing, to see him again. So at the beginning, when I first started reading, obviously I didn't know what was going to happen, that she was going to be the reason all those people died, or that she only knew him for one damn week before.
Yeah.
But you read that and you're just like, to see him again is like, oh wow, this must be an incredible love story.
Yeah, it's literal star-crossed lovers.
The joke's on us.
I love it.
No, that is really a great opening. Like Pike has honed his opening paragraphs over the years, and he's really nailed some of them, and that definitely applies. Although it is horrifying when we know the rest of the book.
True. I was wondering if you wanted me to read Captain Daddy's death real quick.
Please read the death of Captain Daddy.
I forgot his name. But before I do that, I want to like bring to your guys' attention that the dedication page is for Paige Christian.
Yeah.
Did not realize that until just now. Okay.
Which makes me wonder if he's dedicating these to his characters or if he's just naming characters specifically after people he knows.
I kind of want it to be, I think it'd be, I don't know where I'm going. I was going to say, I think it would be cute if it was like dedicated to his characters, but that also might be kind of weird.
Especially
so
a genocidal maniac.
Well, ponder on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say she's bad too. So
She
either
is,
way,
she is
it's dedicated
to
to her. Like,
baseball.
but then if he wrote that for somebody he knows, or like named them after somebody he knows, I'd be that person reading this and be like, "What the hell, dude? Like, you couldn't put me in somewhere better."
It's kind of a hot mess. Okay, you guys ready for death?
Yes, Captain Daddy.
Okay, Captain Daddy. In a flash, she turned and leveled her weapon at my Captain Daddy. Okay, I'll start over. I was gonna make a
Captain
joke.
Daddy, my daddy.
I was gonna make a joke, and I was like, "Let me just start over. I'll read it correctly now." In a flash, she turned and leveled her weapon at my father's midsection. There was a burst of blue light, followed by an explosion of red. My face was splattered with hot blood and gross tissue. That's all.
Yeah.
It was very deep.
I knew when I read that would be likely your favorite part of the book.
It was the only thing that got a pink little tab, and pink means love.
Cassie, do you have any?
No. Sorry.
That throat clearing made me think you were going to go to a whole thing.
Wait,
I didn't know. I didn't mark it.
Oh, okay. I was going to like, you love this book for so long, you don't have any?
No, so I usually, when I'm reading these, I forget to mark things because I just read them because I like them and I'll just keep going. And so, like, I don't know if I
Very
remember to remark stuff.
Cassie has something.
Because it's something that, if it's something that really stands out, then I'll be like, oh, because it takes me out of the immersion. But normally, even if I like it, like the whole part you read, I remember thinking like, oh, this is really pretty. But I was like, got to get to the story. I've got an hour and a half to go.
That's the downside of speed reading right there.
That I can't highlight. I don't know. You've got a lot for me, so I think that you cover it.
That's true. I do. So let me hit some of these here. The traveler resembled a huge spear aimed at the next 2 centuries. That's simple, but I liked it.
That was actually pretty nice.
Amazing how
phallic.
time crumbles when your heart is shattered.
She only knew him for 1 week.
1 week. One week. But his gaze did something to me. No, this is Dad, I think.
Okay, Captain Daddy.
That was a different vibe.
Captain Daddy, I'm sorry. His gaze did something to me. I was staring into my own genetic code, but the family mirror was smeared with dust, fine particles that mysteriously settled with each passing moment, unseen by anyone until it was too late. I couldn't wipe them away by striking him. And besides, the gesture would be as futile as it is improper. Yet I do know I hated him right then, because he wouldn't invalidate everything that Earth has spent on this fucking ship.
I thought you were still reading.
No, I'm grumping beyond the text.
I was like, damn, Pike went hard. I missed that line.
No. Nope, that was all me there.
Oh God.
Okay, next here. If we couldn't stop ourselves, somehow slow our speed, there would be no time for anything, joy or sorrows. The entire universe would simply run out of time. Except time is a circle, according to this book. Yet my love was the ghost of a young girl's dream. It walked alone in the abyss, stubbornly, where only illusions prospered on tears and regrets. I honestly don't know what that sentence means, but I like it. It's lyrical. It does sound pretty. And then I have the sun was a swollen pumpkin on the horizon. It looked sick. An inflated plastic toy left out for a Halloween where only real monsters came knocking.
The way that you said sick, I imagine like tubular type of sick. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah. Check out the giant pumpkin, dude. The old sky pumpkin, like I like to call it. Okay, and I do have one that falls under worst. But why are you doing this? Bella screamed again. I don't know. It must be that time of the month.
Oh, God, yeah.
That was one of mine.
Wah, wah, wah.
I have a big written next to that, and I have so many like faces, like with the mouth as a line, like I draw next to different things. We've covered.
Hit us with some. I'd love to hear
most
some
of them, like with the needle and frozen with a smile, or I haven't been tempted by any of the creatures around me, human or otherwise. This one's not like bad writing, but it's just so it's bad. I was no Judas, no Hitler. I did what I did out of love. And it's just boy. I think that's the only one I've got that we hadn't covered already.
Yeah, that's rough. That especially after we really determine the full nature of her genocide.
Right, because like at the end, the whole lesson is that you are the creation. Like that's the 7th step, and that suggests that you always were, and that means everyone always was. So why kill everyone? Jesus.
Yeah. Jesus, indeed.
Maybe if you're actively seeking to become the creation, you have to do the steps to enlightenment. Whereas if you're forced into it, like people being murdered, you're just automatically part of it.
But what you're saying is if the creation never talked to any of them, they would all just become part of the creation.
Part of the cremation.
Yeah, but then they wouldn't have a story.
No. Then we wouldn't have a story is never the solution to a problem.
I think, I don't know if maybe like the whole one soul things would suggest that like, well, we as the creation had to experience the genocide of the human race to get better at it. But
I thought they were perfect.
Well, they will be after the genocide. God.
Boy, I hope this is no one's first PikeCast episode. Because, man, usually we're more articulate.
It's my first Pike book.
I mean,
so.
Yeah, so, really, I could recommend some better ones for you. But no, this was fine. This is good first start. Does anyone have anything else they want to share from this book before we get into last act?
I do not.
Clearly not. Okay. Which then brings us to the last act. And Hailey, you get to go first and tell us what your rating is out of 5 pikes. And you can sprinkle extras on there if you choose, like genocide or thorns.
Oh my God.
Just a little extra genocide. It's up to you.
Well, I don't have any pikes. Sorry, go ahead.
We're also rating this in young adult horror-dom.
Yeah, I don't have any pikes to compare it to, so just as general, like breezing through it, not having analyzed it, not having thought about how problematic it is, just the general experience, I would like give it 3 pikes and half a collapsing universe.
Just half a collapsing universe.
Just half. Okay, fair. Let's go to Becca, because I really want to hear where we're at here.
Okay, so I would like to say that I did not like this book at all. However, I do agree with you guys on the idea that he does shoot a shot. Like he does, he goes wild sometimes, and that's pretty.
He does.
Yeah, like I respect that. However, still don't like the book, so I'm gonna give it 1. Hold on. I'm sorry, Cassie.
It's okay. I forgive you.
1.5 pikes being carried by Caprina in the garden.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds like a new YA book you should write, Caprina in the Garden.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's so
I
cute.
think so.
Oh
I
my
think
goodness.
so. That sounds right. I'm going to go next. We're going to save Cassie for last so we actually end on a good note. I mean, here's the thing. I am definitely seeing the growth in Pike's writing. This is one of his later books. I'm also seeing the sheer audacious ambition of him as a writer. And I must respect that. And before this episode started, I was going to give it 3. But I think I need to bring it down to 2 because of how utterly bereft of hope I felt midway through this episode that I'd even be able to finish it. So I'm going to go with 2 pikes, and both of them are piercing the other half of the collapsing universe from Hailey. And they don't count as a half pike. It's just there. So that's where I'm at. Cassie, what do you got?
Okay. All right, good. It's my turn.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say, I just want to point out that we had to read an entire book about a little boy who put a VCR in a girl's bathroom. And that was the entire story based upon that. So if I'm basing this off of all of Pike's books, this is going to be 4 stars for me. And then on top of that, I'm going to splooge a little bit of reproductive matter on top of it for an extra half. Yep. So that's my genetic material for y'all and my rating.
Wow, I didn't see that coming.
Me neither.
You don't expect Cassie to splooge all over something, really.
Sometimes you get lucky with the episodes you listen to.
Wow. Okay. So that's an interesting, diverse range of ratings for the Starlight Crystal. Perhaps our most diverse collection of ratings so far. Well, Hailey, I must say, I'm glad you listened to the show because then I don't have to explain that normally I'm a little bit more coherent as a host here.
I'm normally more coherent in general, but this book, I think, broke us a little bit.
It broke us all in very different ways, I think. But before we go, would you tell our audience a little bit about where they can find your work? And if you want to tell them to buy anything specific, this is the floor for you.
You can find me at www.haileypiper.com. And on Twitter, I'm at Hailey Piper Says. And on Instagram, I'm at Hailey Piper Fights. I just had a short story collection, Unfortunate Elements of My Anatomy, released from the 7th Terrace. And then later this year, I'll have Queen of Teeth releasing from Rooster Public. And if you want more physics weird crap, you can read my cosmic horror novella, The Worm and His Kings.
Nice. Becca, where can our listeners find more of you?
So I have a blog where I mostly talk about books, which can be found at astoldbybex.wordpress.com. I'm on Twitter at astoldbybex and on Instagram at readwithbex.
Cassie, how about you?
You can find me on Twitter at ControlAltCassie. It's CTRLALT and then my name. And I'm on Instagram under the same name for my personal account. And then I also have an Etsy shop where I sell books and art and stuff like that. It's shopletsgetgalactic.com.
You can find me at Cooper S. Beckett all over the internet. You can find my books and my very angry political rants on the good side. See what I did there? But you can wow, this did break me. This book broke me.
Poor Cooper.
Completely. Anyway, Cassie, will you tell our listeners where they can find our show?
Yeah, you can find us on all social media at the PikeCast. It's all one word. We'd really appreciate it if you shared your Pike books with us and use the hashtag #ShowUsYourPike. We'll retweet it or share it to our stories or just comment on it and tell you how much we love seeing it. And then we also have a Patreon, which is patreon.com/thepikecast. And that helps us keep the lights on and keep things running smoothly.
Okay, Pikers, your homework for next time is 1995's The Lost Mind. And we will catch you next time on the PikeCast.
Woo!
You survived the night, friends. You can peek out from under your covers and see the first blues of dawn out the window. Thanks for spending the night with the PikeCast, and we hope you'll join us again next time. Until then, Pikers, pleasant dreams.
Well, while we're on our break, I would like to say, Cassie, I love you so much, and I think that you have a lot of good taste.
No, I love you. Okay, cool. So I'm going to tell you too, my entire teenage, early childhood, when I was reading this book, I had friends who were like, oh, I love books. You read books? Oh, cool. What book should I read? And I would try to get so many fucking people to read this damn book, and they hated it. Nobody ever liked this book with me. So you're not hurting my feelings. You were totally good. I swear to you, I am not offended.
Cassie.
I truly am joking about the tasting for sure.
Cassie, I liked
I do not mean it.
It was
good.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
It's a mess. It is a huge mess.
It is a
but
mess.
I did not have a bad time reading it.
And to be fair, if I read this now for the first time, I feel like, I would probably still enjoy it, like on a surface level, but like we're digging into it, I'd have these same issues, but I probably wouldn't be as devoted to it as I am, considering that it was my first sci-fi book. And the first thing that I was like you said, like there's a girl doing her own shit and she's also going out into the galaxy. Oh, fuck, she made a mistake. I don't like that. But, so yeah, I feel like that's where I am with it.
I appreciate like Cooper, like you were saying, like, yeah, this book is full of missed shots, but at least Pike is taking them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because R.L. Stein wouldn't be taking
Oh my
these
God.
fucking
I guess you could subtitle the book that R.L. Stein would never.
It was a dramatic sigh, Cassie.